war against drug cartels just turned deadly. A cartel death boat linked to Venezuela's Tren de Aragua thought it could slip past U.S. defenses in the southern Caribbean. Sailing without a flag, ID, or radio contact, it blatantly violated maritime law. U.S. warships patrolling the area immediately took notice, and in moments the suspicious approach escalated into the first lethal strike of a new campaign against narco-terrorists. Was this merely a warning or the opening salvo of a far larger confrontation? Join us as we unveil the details of what happened when a mysterious Mexican boat approached a United States warship. The United States military recently conducted a lethal strike in the southern Caribbean against members of the Tren de Aragua cartel, a designated foreign terrorist group. Known for mass killings, drug and sex trafficking, and acts of terror across the U.S. and the wider Western Hemisphere, the group operates under the influence of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The strike targeted these cartel members, moving illegal narcotics toward U.S. shores, and resulted in the deaths of 11 terrorists, with no American forces harmed. The released video showed a small boat, packed with several individuals, speeding across open water before being struck by precision fire. Though the footage does not reveal the exact platform used in the strike, it shows the speed and accuracy with which the target was neutralized. Officials did not give specific details about how the strike was carried out. It is not clear what type of vessel was hit. However, military watchers pointed out that U.S. forces have several options when dealing with moving targets at sea. Strike helicopters launched from destroyers, drones providing live surveillance, or fixed-wing aircraft flying from nearby bases could all have been used. These tools allow the Navy to spot, track, and hit targets in a very short time. While the situation continues to develop, the message from Washington is clear. Smuggling routes once considered safe are now active battlegrounds. Cartel groups moving narcotics across the Caribbean can no longer expect to escape with speed or secrecy. The United States is prepared to strike hard and without warning. Donald Trump also issued a stern warning to Venezuela, saying any jets that fly over U.S. naval ships and put it in a dangerous position will be shot down. His remarks followed reports from U.S. officials that Venezuelan military aircraft had flown close to an American vessel off South America twice in just 2 days, heightening regional tensions. This growing pressure on both cartels and hostile states highlights why maritime tactics matter more than ever. For years, drug traffickers have used high-speed boats, semi-submarines, and even converted fishing boats to hide their cargo. These vessels often sail without flags, identification, or radio contact, breaking every rule of maritime law. That makes them very hard to detect, but American forces rely on advanced radar, long-range aircraft, and satellite tracking to find them. Once spotted, the decision to strike is usually made quickly to prevent the vessel from escaping. The secrecy around this incident also suggests that Washington is running a larger intelligence campaign. This strike took place as part of a wider mission already underway. President Trump ordered at least 8 American warships to patrol the southern Caribbean. Their job is to block drug traffickers and stop shipments before they can move farther north. The presence of these ships shows a clear plan: use patrols, quick reaction forces, and precision strikes to shut down the sea routes long used by smugglers. But these deployments are not just about drug cartels. The large movement of United States naval and military power to the waters off Venezuela is a sharp escalation in Washington's confrontation with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The move comes as frustration grows in the White House over the flow of illegal narcotics into the United States, which officials say is tied directly to Maduro's regime. Nicolas Maduro remains wanted on U.S. charges of narco-terrorism and drug trafficking first issued in the year 2020. In addition to the large deployment of warships, the United States President directed at least 3 Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers, 1 submarine, and additional assets to move toward Venezuela last week. The deployment may also include around 4,000 Marines embarked aboard an amphibious ready group made up of 3 ships. If confirmed, the scale of this task force would represent one of the largest American naval formations seen off Venezuela in years, combining surface firepower, submarine capability, and amphibious assault forces into a single powerful strike group. Among the ships identified is the USS Gravely, one of the destroyers reportedly sailing toward the Caribbean. The Gravely and its sister ships are equipped with the Aegis combat system, advanced radar, and vertical launch cells capable of firing Tomahawk cruise missiles, anti-ship weapons, and air defense interceptors. The vessel's aviation wing, which includes MH-60R Seahawk helicopters, has already proven its combat role in recent years, including taking part in operations against Houthi boats threatening commercial shipping in the Red Sea. Such assets provide Washington with flexible options for both interdiction and deterrence. The exact nature of the deployment remains unclear, but the message is direct. The Trump administration is no longer relying solely on law enforcement and intelligence channels to stop drug trafficking from South America. Instead, the U.S. military is being placed at the center of the campaign, signaling a shift toward more aggressive maritime operations against groups tied to the Venezuelan regime. However, the United States president is not the only one making moves. Nicolas Maduro, in response to these changes, announced on Monday that more than 4.5 million militia members would be activated across Venezuela. These volunteers, organized under government control, are intended to bolster the country's armed forces in the event of foreign intervention or internal unrest. Speaking at an event in Caracas, Maduro accused Washington of renewed aggression, saying, "The empire has gone mad and has renewed its threats to Venezuela's peace and tranquility." Tensions between Trump and Maduro stretch back to the beginning of Trump's first term, when the White House labeled the Venezuelan leader a narco-terrorist and began building sanctions and pressure campaigns against his government. Maduro's indictment was announced in New York federal court in the year 2020. He and 14 associates, including senior officials close to his inner circle, were charged with narco-terrorism and conspiracy with the Colombian insurgent group FARC. The U.S. government accused them of directing tons of cocaine into American cities over a period of more than 2 decades. At the time, Attorney General William Barr said Maduro and his allies deliberately worked with FARC to flood American communities with drugs. Now, with a flotilla of U.S. warships and thousands of Marines potentially positioned offshore, Washington is signaling that it is prepared to use military force to cut off smuggling routes, challenge Maduro's control, and continues to reject Nicolas Maduro as the legitimate leader of Venezuela. Officials describe his regime as a narco-terror cartel. The administration has stressed that Maduro is a fugitive, indicted in U.S. courts for trafficking narcotics into the country. Washington's position is that he is not a president, but the head of a criminal network operating under state cover. What exactly United States forces will do with the military assets positioned near Venezuela remains unclear. Last week, officials confirmed that naval movements had been ordered to contain drug trafficking networks operating in the region. On Monday, reports indicated that the guided missile destroyers USS Gravely, USS Jason Dunham, and USS Sampson, along with roughly 4,000 personnel, were expected to reach the edge of Venezuelan waters within 36 hours. The deployment also involves several Boeing P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, at least one attack submarine, and additional warships. A senior U.S. official, speaking anonymously, explained that the mission would unfold over several months. The aircraft and ships would operate strictly in international waters and airspace, conducting surveillance and intelligence operations. However, the official added that these same platforms could be used to launch targeted strikes if the decision were made at the political level. The Boeing P-8 Poseidon is a proven maritime patrol aircraft built by Boeing on the 737 airframe. Though often referred to as a spy plane, the P-8 is designed for multiple tasks, including anti-submarine warfare, electronic intelligence, and surface surveillance. It has one of the highest mission-capable rates in the U.S. Navy's fleet, giving Washington an advanced tool for monitoring maritime activity in the Southern Caribbean. Confusion still surrounds the scale of the deployment. On Tuesday, a Pentagon official told CNN that no U.S. warships had yet arrived in the area and that no orders had been given for them to move there. This statement contradicts earlier claims from other officials, leaving uncertainty about the timing and nature of the naval buildup. The White House has not provided clarification. Meanwhile, Task and Purpose reported that the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group, paired with the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit, departed Naval Station Norfolk on August 14th. This force includes more than 4,500 sailors and Marines aboard 3 vessels. the Wasp-class amphibious assault ship USS Iwo Jima, and the San Antonio-class amphibious transport docks USS San Antonio and USS Fort Lauderdale. The Iwo Jima ARG and its Marines completed a 9-month training program before deployment, preparing for expeditionary missions, amphibious assaults, and crisis response. Initial Navy statements described the departure as part of a regularly scheduled deployment, but multiple outlets, including Reuters and CNN, reported that the group was bound for the Southern Caribbean to support anti-trafficking operations. A defense official later confirmed this to Task and Purpose. However, the deployment faced a temporary setback when Hurricane Erin forced the Iwo Jima group to return to Norfolk, according to reports from USNI. This pause highlights the unpredictability of large-scale naval movements, especially during hurricane season in the Atlantic. But regardless of the minor setback, the U.S. keeps pushing forward. The United States has also steadily increased pressure on Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro, backing political indictments with large rewards and military deployments. When Maduro was first indicted in U.S. courts, Washington offered a $15 million reward for his capture. That figure was later raised to $25 million, and earlier this month, the Trump Justice Department announced it had doubled the amount again, offering $50 million for his arrest. At the same time, Washington has widened its campaign against transnational criminal networks. In February, President Trump designated Venezuela's Tren de Aragua, the Salvadoran gang MS-13, and 6 Mexico-based cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. The designation puts these groups on the same legal footing as armed extremist movements and opens the way for military and intelligence operations against them. Alongside these moves, the administration stepped up immigration enforcement against suspected gang members and deployed thousands of troops to reinforce the southern border. While the exact course of U.S. military action remains uncertain, the deployment of an amphibious ready group and several Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers off Venezuela sends a direct message to Maduro. An ARG, supported by its Marine Expeditionary Unit, brings with it the ability to carry out a wide range of missions, from humanitarian aid and crisis response to amphibious assaults and targeted raids. With these assets positioned in international waters, U.S. commanders have flexible options. The Pentagon could use carrier-based aircraft or land-based patrol planes to launch precision airstrikes against cartel-linked targets. Navy destroyers could interdict vessels moving narcotics through the Caribbean. If ordered, Marines from the ARG could be deployed rapidly to conduct limited ground operations launched from offshore. Though such actions would carry political risk, the military capability is clearly in place to act quickly. For Washington, the buildup is a deliberate show of force against a regime accused of acting as a criminal cartel. For the military community, it highlights how naval and amphibious forces can be used not only for conventional warfare, but also for operations against non-state networks and hostile regimes. With rewards increasing, groups being designated as terrorist organizations, and U.S. warships patrolling close to Venezuelan waters, the Trump administration has left little doubt that Maduro is firmly in its crosshairs. Yet Washington's stance is not only shaping the battlefield in Latin America, it is also drawing reactions from global powers. When asked about China's role in Venezuela, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth brushed it off. Just weeks earlier, China's government criticized Washington for sending warships near Venezuela, accusing the U.S. of interfering in the country's affairs. Also, the Colombian President Gustavo Petro condemned the U.S. attack on a drug boat linked to the Tren de Aragua cartel, calling it murder. He argued that such vessels are usually stopped, their drugs seized, and crews arrested, not blown apart. But despite Beijing's objections and Colombia's condemnation, the U.S. appears determined to keep applying military pressure on Maduro and the cartels tied to him. Pete Hegseth made it clear that the main person who should be worried is Venezuela's president, Nicolás Maduro. Hegseth described Maduro as the leader of a narco-state, pointing out that he was never truly elected and now faces a $50 million indictment in the United States. He explained that Maduro has been tied to major drug trafficking that has harmed Americans directly. While countries like China may criticize U.S. actions, Hegseth said America's growing military presence in the Caribbean is a clear show of power. The Pentagon and White House have not confirmed what quantity of drugs was on board, But Secretary of State Marco Rubio argued that traditional interdiction methods had been failing for years, stressing that the only way to stop traffickers was to destroy their vessels completely. Donald Trump insisted that the boat targeted in the strike had been carrying massive amounts of drugs and claimed that U.S. intelligence possessed recordings of the traffickers discussing it. He maintained that the strike would act as a deterrent, making it clear that those involved would not attempt it again, and that others would also think twice once they saw the evidence. This mission is definitely a turning point. Instead of seizing cartel ships, the United States is now prepared to destroy them outright, sending a chilling message across the Caribbean. That same message has not gone unnoticed in Caracas, where Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has declared that his country is facing the greatest danger seen in Latin America in the past century. Speaking in Caracas before journalists, top officials, and military leaders, Maduro warned that the current crisis represents the biggest threat that has been seen on our continent in the last 100 years. He stressed that such a situation had never been seen before, underlining his belief that Venezuela is being targeted like never before. At the center of this tension is the growing hostility between Venezuela and the United States. The administration of then U.S. President Donald Trump had accused Maduro of not only clinging to power through fraudulent elections, but also of leading an international drug cartel. In response, Maduro struck a defiant tone. He told the nation that if Venezuela were attacked, he would constitutionally declare a republic in arms. This phrase was meant to signal that every Venezuelan citizen would be called upon to defend the country. According to Maduro, the United States is not simply applying diplomatic or economic pressure, but is actively seeking regime change through military threat. The United States, for its part, has publicly denied that it has plans to invade Venezuela. Yet the deployment of U.S. naval forces to the Caribbean has fueled suspicions in Caracas. For Maduro, this movement of ships so close to Venezuelan waters is an extravagant, unjustifiable, immoral, and absolutely criminal and bloody threat. He insisted that Venezuela must respond by maintaining maximum preparedness for the defense of Venezuela. His government has since directed its armed forces to remain on high alert. While Venezuela sees the U.S. military presence as hostile, its neighbor Guyana has welcomed it. The two countries have been locked in an increasingly bitter dispute over the Essequibo region, a vast area rich in oil reserves. Tensions soared after U.S.-based oil giant ExxonMobil discovered massive deposits off Essequibo's coast a decade ago. Venezuela claims the region, which makes up nearly two-thirds of Guyana's territory, but Guyana insists it rightfully belongs to them. Guyana's President Irfaan Ali made his country's position clear. In response to questions about the deployment of U.S. warships, he said Guyana will support anything to eliminate any threat to our security. For Ali, the presence of the United States in the Caribbean is not just about Venezuela's internal politics, but also about ensuring Guyana's sovereignty in the face of Venezuelan claims. The tension between the two neighbors is not just political rhetoric. On Sunday, Guyana accused Venezuela of opening fire on a boat carrying election materials in the contested Essequibo region. The incident highlighted how quickly disputes over territory and resources could turn into armed clashes. Venezuela's defense minister, Vladimir Padrino Lopez, quickly rejected the accusation, claiming that Guyana was trying to create a war front. The escalating confrontation has placed Latin America in a fragile position. On one side, Venezuela views itself as a besieged nation, resisting what it calls U.S. imperialism and foreign interference. On the other, Guyana and Washington frame the situation as a matter of defending democracy, sovereignty, and regional stability. With oil wealth, disputed borders, and allegations of narco-terrorism all fueling the conflict, the risk of a wider confrontation cannot be ignored. For now, both Venezuelan and U.S. officials insist that no invasion is planned, but the rhetoric continues to harden. Maduro is preparing his people for resistance, while Guyana aligns itself more closely with Washington. The future of the Caribbean region may well depend on whether dialogue can prevail over threats, or whether the standoff will erupt into something far more dangerous. Thanks for watching. Before you go, click the link on your screen to check out another video. See you there.